Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. And we also appreciate Anchor because they have made this podcast possible from a technology standpoint. If you're interested in having your voice heard, go to anchor.fm. I'm telling you guys, it's free, it's easy, and all the tools that you need are right in one place. They've got music for you to use to mix in. They've got analytics. So all the things that might scare you when starting an endeavor like this, they've really taken that out of the equation so that you can focus on the most important thing, and that is to have your voice heard. So once again, go to anchor.fm to get started, and let's get back to the show.
Hi, I'm Mo Crum.
And I'm Harrison Crum.
And we're the Crummy Marathoners.
This podcast is for beginners by beginners.
If you're thinking about running your first marathon or half marathon or are in the process, this is for you.
We realized as we were training that many resources out there expect people to know what they're doing when marathon training. Well, think of this as a marathon training guide for dummies. We'll go through many of the questions we have as we make our way through the beginning of our running journey and what we have learned.
If we can inspire others to run a marathon, then we consider this a success. On today's episode,
we talked to the amazing runner Kim Clark about how to train between marathons and all about her experience running while pregnant. Hey everyone, Harrison here. So Mo and I did this interview together, which almost never happens. So I'm super excited about it, and we're just gonna jump right in. But before we do, we wanna make sure she gets a proper introduction. So here it is. Her name is Kim Clark, and if you're on Instagram, chances are you've already seen her posts. She goes by the username Track Club Babe, and she gives incredible advice and has grown a massive following online, and rightfully so. She and her husband, Tyler, and by the way, Tyler coaches Mo and I, have helped thousands of runners tackle their running goals. And she shares some really super helpful advice in this episode about what to do between marathons and how to run while pregnant. So before I give away too much more, here she is, Kim Clark. Hello, everyone. Mo and I are here together. This rare opportunity. We didn't both want to miss the opportunity to talk to Kim. Kim, what do we call you? Do we call you Track Club Babe, or do we just call you Kim?
No, just Kim. And thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited. Tyler loves you guys. So I'm just so thrilled to be on your podcast.
Oh, we are the biggest fans of both you and Tyler. So we are just so honored. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah, and so just so everyone knows, we know Kim through Tyler Underwood, who's our marathon coach, and we've had him on the podcast. If you want to go back and listen to that episode, that was a couple weeks before our marathon where we talked about how to taper for a marathon. So super helpful episode if you're kind of in that phase of the taper. But right now we've got Kim on and part two of, I guess, second half of the dynamic duo. They're amazing, you guys. They do so much for the running community. So we were super excited to get her on. So Kim, tell us a little bit about you and Tyler. Like how did you guys meet?
Yeah. So, I became a runner in 2012 and I was single when I became a runner. And in 2014, I went down to Tijuana to run a half marathon. I just had I was trying to decide, should I even go down and run this race? Because would I be better served by doing a tempo at my normal spot? Or should I go run a race? And is that going to mess me up in my training? I was just going back and forth, overthinking it. And just because I was I really want to get the best training I can be getting right now. And then I ultimately was you know what? You need to start saying yes to things. And I just felt in my gut that I needed to go. And so I went and ran this race. I ran a huge PR. I think it was like a three minute PR, but it was in Tijuana at the end of July, the most hot, hilly, concrete race ever. I mean, it was brutal. It was totally brutal. And I ran a PR because I was just so fit at that point. And then Tyler ran a huge PR too. I think he ran 1:11, and that was a really, really big PR at the time. His previous PR might have been 1:18. And this race is really awesome because they give all the top three in the age group cash prize money, which is insane. So like even like an 80-year-old, like the 80 to 85 age group, like if you walked that thing and suffered through it, you got money, just like the 17-year-old winning his age group. So we both won in our age group, which was like completely crazy because we also had to get huge PRs in order to win our age groups. And so we did. And then to collect the prize money, you had to like wait in a really long line. The line was 4 hours long. And we had shuttled down there with this like one, like driver from the American side over to Tijuana. And so the driver came up to me because I was already in line and said, "Can Tyler stand with you? Like that way when you guys are done, we're all able to go right away and not Tyler, like, 15 people back." So I was like, "Oh, of course." And then I basically just like had a captive audience for 4 hours. And I just remember going to the restroom afterwards and thinking like, "Oh my gosh, like I really like him." And I just like knew he was going to be my boyfriend after that. He like did not email me. He did not get my number, and I didn't we didn't really like talk for the next couple months. But I just like the whole time I was like, "Oh, that's my boyfriend. Like he's definitely going to be my boyfriend one day." Like I had no doubt. and then of course, yeah, we ended up dating and then getting married, and now we have a baby on the way coming next month. So, I called it.
Oh, congratulations. I know I've never heard that. I love that. Oh.
Yeah, I just knew.
Okay, that story is what dreams are made of. Like, I'm so excited. I'm so happy for you guys. And I don't know if we talked about this at first, but for those who don't know, Tyler is our running coach. He's just like all the goals, but Kim is all the goals. So together they are all the goals, everyone.
Oh my gosh.
So that story was I'm just so happy for you guys. And I can't wait for your baby.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
So Tyler's like my sounding board because I talked his ear off. Is he the type of guy who you just like you talk to him for 4 hours straight and then because he listened, you're like, all right, that's the one?
I know, right? I am a big talker and he enjoys like listening to me, but he also like with running and with anything, he really does like, he just enjoys also talking about running so much. So we have so much to say and bounce off of with that, but he is a really great listener and he is actually hilarious. I mean, I'm sure you know that he's hilarious. And so we are like, our style of like joking with each other is like very similar. So that's honestly like a lot of like how we got along so well when we met in Tijuana, because I was like, "Oh, well, he's pretty funny."
I love it. So what are you guys up to now?
Yeah. So, Tyler was injured a lot of last year. He had an unfortunate incident with a dog tripping him 2 weeks out from the trials. And then even worse, a month after the trials, while he was trying to rehab his Achilles, he got in a really bad bike crash. And the same hip that he landed on with the dog, he landed on with the bike crash. And it was, April in the middle of the pandemic and pretty much a nightmare because we felt like we couldn't go to the hospital. And basically he wasn't able to run for months and was just super injured, like in pain a lot. And thankfully we are through all of that nightmare. He's back to running normal and everything. And I personally was going through my own health issues, for the last couple of years. I had like breakthrough races in 2017 and had like an amazing season in 2018. And then I like caught a cold in the middle of my marathon training season for the California International Marathon in 2018. And it's like my body never recovered. And I was limping along during training. I was still nailing my workouts, but it was like I was giving too much to be able to nail the workouts. And then on race day, it did not come together. I pulled together a 3:19, but I was aiming for something under 3. And then after that, I was like, okay, I need to pull back and just listen to my body and get better. And it really just took a really long time for like a lot of the immune issues I was dealing with to go away. And so I took off 3 months in 2019 and I took off 7 months in 2020, which was totally crazy. That's so long. But I just said, I'm not running another step until like these symptoms are gone, like until I am like, I can feel that I'm like healthy again, just because it's totally counterproductive. And if I'm trying to get, to one level of performance, I can't do that if my body's not healthy. So I just, Tyler was going through his thing, not being able to run. Now I also was taking time off. So we were both kind of in a similar place, but honestly, it wasn't like depressing or anything. Cause I was just like, this is just what I need to do to get better. And so I took those 7 months off and then basically started running again, I think like end of October of last year. And so then we got pregnant at the beginning of this year. So then I went from being like totally out of shape to being totally out of shape and pregnant. So it's another really fun combo. But I've been just so grateful to be able to be running it all while pregnant. I'm 35 weeks today, and still able to run, which is a total blessing. And it's cool because, even in the summer and pregnant, my heart rate is like showing that I'm recovered. I don't have any of the symptoms that I had when I was just fighting immune issues the last couple of years. So it's like totally encouraging to me. Like I look at every run as just a blessing because I feel like my body's in such a better place, even pregnant, even super hot than it was, before when I was dealing with health issues. So I'm just excited for kind of a clear runway after baby, the Lord willing.
That's amazing. Oh. So right now then you're training during pregnancy. I know Mo probably has some questions about that, and probably a lot of women listening.
So many questions. And the fact that you're 35 weeks, 35 weeks, I was running to the couch. That's what I was doing. So
I know.
I have so many questions. My mind is blown. Everything you just dropped, I felt like was like gold. Again, I just feel so honored to be talking to you.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Thank you. That kind of segues though into, I wanted to ask about your personal running journey, because I know you just made this amazing post about how, you're never too old to start chasing after your dreams and to start running. Can you kind of walk us through how you started running?
Yeah, of course. So basically, my dad was like a marathoner as a kid, so that I was just like, he's my hero. I also want to run a marathon one day. And I tried out running for 1 year in high school, and it was like a total disaster. I should not have been doing it at all because I was totally injured, totally overtrained. It was just a total sufferfest for that 1 year. My times were, not to what now I know is my potential, but I didn't know any better. I had, no one to like help me through that. I had a coach and he was, a wonderful person, but he wasn't able to see how, this was it was his first year as well. He wasn't able to see how this was essentially overtraining like an inactive young teenage female at that point. Before that, I had never played any sports. And then all of a sudden now I'm doing like 10-mile days, 10 to 13-mile days. And I was just totally injured and overtrained. And now I know just so much more just in general from my own running journey and just how to take what I've learned from all of my different failures throughout the years to put it into other people's journey. So that way I can protect them from going through so much of what I went through. But so I signed up for a marathon at the end of that year because some guy told me I couldn't. So I was like, well, of course I can. And then the San Diego Rock and Roll was that weekend. So I went to the expo, I signed up and just went and ran it the next day, which was completely insane. I had not run even a mile the month prior. So I was totally out of shape, which is just how I like it. And it was a bloodbath. It was horrible. But I got it done. And so I was like, this is a one and done. It's like a bucket list item. I can say I'm a marathoner for the rest of my life. I didn't even care. Like I was so proud of my marathon. So to me, the time was never like anything to be embarrassed about. I was just like, my body ran 26.2 miles on its own. And so that was, I felt like I had checked off that bucket list item and I went about my life and, was not a runner again after that. I just went back to being inactive. And And then I didn't find running again until I moved back to San Diego in 2012. And my cousin had gotten into running, and she was like training for a marathon with a group. And I thought, you know what, maybe this is a great idea. Maybe if I just had a group, I would actually be consistent with running. Because every once in a while I'd be like, I want to do a run. And I would go and do like a 5-mile run out of the blue and then not run again for like years. That was just like my life for like the past, 10 or 12 years before that. I would get like an inkling of wanting to do something and do something. And then just, it would be too much for my body and I would be sore. And then I wouldn't do it again, like for like years. So I was like, how do I actually actually train for this marathon? And so I signed up for the San Diego Track Club and I joined it. And that consistency just kept me rolling. And so I'm still here running, 8 or 9 years later. So it's crazy what getting plugged into a group can really do for you when you're lacking consistency and just like trying to figure out how to make something stick.
Right. Well, I just, I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you just said right now, because I think, and Tyler definitely knows this by experience of being my coach. I have experienced a lack of inactivity because life happens and I get so distracted. And then I get really, down on myself that I haven't done anything. But to hear your experiences and how you've taken those and just, move forward with them instead of them holding you back.
Totally.
That's honestly, I'm very excited to talk to Tyler in my next running call because
and
I'm so motivated.
I think that you can't, and every stage of life is so different too. So I think that if there's a stage where it's like there's a lot of other things going on and it's really stressful, you just have to give yourself grace and just keep moving forward. And I think that, I've definitely gone through periods where either I felt guilt because I wasn't able to do as much as I wanted to, or I just ended up forcing myself to do all the things that I thought I needed to do. But then it was like a total overload because of what else was going on in life. And so it's just, there's no balance there, and that's not healthy, and it's not going to make your running progress better anyways. So I think just like honoring whatever is going on in that time and honoring your body. And then when you're a little bit less busy and able to focus more on the running, then things will click better.
So following you on Instagram, Kim, it seems like your overarching theme is balance, making sure you're healthy, making sure you are happy running and it's something you can sustain over a long period of time. But
I love with all my heart.
Yeah. Can you tell us what factors you think played into your drastic improvements in your time? So you started around, I think based on what I saw on your social media post, it was like 6 hours.
Yeah.
And then your fastest marathon was like
3:11.
low threes, wasn't it? Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, in the time since I started running again in 2012, I've gone through such a journey where I overworked myself and I beat myself up and I felt very doomed by my running. And that was really the theme of, I would say, my running from 2012 to 2016. And, having a really, intense work ethic initially worked for me with my running. But then it started to get overkill, and then it started to compile on itself. And then the feelings of failure and feelings of doom with my running were a constant theme, for the remaining years in that period. And I basically had to realize that what I was doing was not working. So overworking myself did not ultimately work for me. And then I also had to completely change my mentality. So it was really a twofold approach to finally finding my potential. My potential was completely hidden because I had overworked for so long and then was so down on myself about like my poor results because of overworking. So once I realized that it's not that I didn't have potential, it's not that I wasn't going to be fast, but that I was hiding my potential with too much work, I was able to correct that and then start seeing some more success. And then the success built on itself. And I had to start changing how I felt about myself and how I felt about my future running. And as soon as I started to do, both of those things, it was like things started clicking. They started opening up. Running became fun again. I started to not I started to learn how to take bad races better, which is like huge. It's a sign of maturity and just of hopefulness for your running. I think when you're in a really negative cycle, you take everything bad and then it just keeps repeating itself. And it's like when you're stuck on a bad cycle, you can't get out of it. And so sometimes taking a step back, either taking time off or taking some time to just run easy, but taking a step back and realizing what's going on so you get a better, macro picture of your running journey is really helpful to see what needs to change so that you can start running to your potential again. Like finding that running was fun changed everything for me. It wasn't supposed to be horrible.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So because you've had so many gaps in between, your marathons, you've had periods of time where you've had to take 7 months off or, long periods of time. And then you're going to have a baby soon. So you're going to have to take some more time off. I think you're really a great person to ask this question to. So we had a question come in from a listener who said, hey, look, I'm really nervous about after my marathon. What do I do between marathons? Like, how do I maintain that marathon shape? What do I do specifically to make sure that I'm ready to go to then start my next training cycle? Do you have any advice on that topic?
Of course. So first of all, you cannot be in marathon shape 24/7. It is 1, not possible, 2, not healthy for you, 3, you'll burn out with it. But what you can do is make sure that after your marathon, you're taking proper recovery. That's the only way to let that work that you did in that marathon basically be assimilated. So for Tyler and I, we both take 2 full weeks off, no running after marathon. That's non-negotiable for us at this point because, we talked to a lot of the East African pros, and this is what they were doing. And so then we thought, well, if it's good enough for them, then it's good enough for, little old me trying to run a BQ, So we started taking the 2 weeks off after. We figure this is their livelihood. This is how they make the most money. Of course, they would be doing everything to maximize their potential. So if this is what they feel like maximizes their potential, then why, the Insta running community are people jumping back on the treadmill the day after a race? It's mind boggling. So we both take 2 weeks off after the marathon, and then we take about 2 weeks of totally running easy. And so that's basically a month of recovery. And I think that the biggest thing you have to learn with running is to be able to be confident enough to build in recovery periods into your running. Just because you're not running or you're running easy in order to give your body the space it needs to heal and come back stronger does not mean that you're going to lose everything you've worked for or that the speed won't ever come back again. But it's like so necessary to take that downtime in order to come back fitter. So we always take the 2 weeks off, then the 2 weeks easy, and then we slowly start to build from there. In the off seasons, we love focusing on fast stuff. I think that the speed workouts are really what help like refresh your mind. The workouts are really, really fun, but they also help to change up the focus from these, long grueling tempos and long runs to the short stuff. It's going to help your form improve just by focusing on the short stuff. And it's also going to just help to get that speed back into your legs. You're just not focusing on it as much during marathon training. And so it's basically going from long with marathon training to the short stuff and then trying to drill down and find out how fast you can get again. And then once you go back to marathon training and go back to those long runs, you're doing so, but with a different speed reference point. So you're not doing it at the same point that you started at with your marathon training. You're faster now. So paces that might have felt hard in the last training cycle will feel easier going forward because you're even faster than you were at that last point. So of course, after a speed training period, you'll have to build back marathon endurance, but that's a part of the marathon training process. And it all will click together, in those 12 weeks that you do of marathon training. But I think the most helpful thing to know is just like, you're not going to be 24/7 in marathon training fitness or marathon PR fitness. And it's okay to let that go. So that way you can heal, get faster, and then go back to those workouts. And even just, you want to protect against burnout. Burnout is just as real as overtraining. And we want to keep our minds fresh. We want to keep ourselves enjoying the process. So I think that that's helpful to have that recovery.
That's a really great point. And I think people get nervous when after a marathon, let's say they've taken their 2 and then 2 weeks of easy. And then they're like, hey, I just tried running 12 miles and that was actually not very easy. And, 2 months ago, that was a piece of cake, and they get scared, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, it sounds like that's just a natural part of the process. So when you say slowly, or when you say work on the fast stuff, but the shorter stuff, are you talking about like 5Ks, 10Ks, maybe the half marathon?
Yeah. So, like to your point about the 12 miles and things like that, that's totally a normal part of the training. And I think it takes you being really secure in your running to say, it's okay if I lose a little bit of this because I'm going to gain other things. And then as far as the speed, I would say like 5K-ish type of things. We have a program, Fast Fall, that we really love. And we've seen so much success from. And basically, throughout the whole program, there's no interval longer than a mile as far as like what you're running hard. So something like that is really going to cultivate a lot of speed, especially after you come from a marathon training cycle where maybe you're doing a 12-mile tempo. So to go to a season where your longest interval out of the whole season is a mile is a total change, but it's really good for your body to have that variety in order to get better.
Yeah, I love that. And something that I appreciate so much about you, Kim, is that you really have understood how to balance your running journey, your running being. And what I mean by that is that it's not just a physical act, right? It's like a mental and emotional, and making sure you keep that balance. And I just appreciate that so much, especially as someone who is finding difficulty in my stage of life, finding that balance,
Totally.
and how, running can help it instead of, bring it down, if that makes sense. But with that, I want to kind of segue into talking about things that, alter our current way of life. And one of those beautiful, amazing things is your pregnancy.
Yes.
So if you're comfortable with it, I'd love to ask you questions, because I know we've had some friends and listeners ask about running while pregnant. And
Sure.
Number one, the biggest thing is, how do you do it?
Oh my gosh.
But I guess like in general, like what's your approach to running while pregnant? I mean, did you receive any medical advice or restrictions or?
No, I really didn't. I took a really conservative approach in the beginning when I first found out I was pregnant, or when I thought I may be pregnant, because I just really wanted this baby. I just wanted to run really easy so that my body would feel safe and just let the baby implant,
Mm-hmm.
And, I had not been running very much the year prior. So I was like, this is not the time for me to be trying out a speed workout, because at this point, a speed workout to my body is going to be like way too much effort versus if I had been, totally fit going into pregnancy. So I took a really conservative approach in the beginning and just was like, I need to be able to like keep my heart rate really low and be conversational if I'm doing any runs. And so that's just what I did. And, I have friends who have done, speed workouts even before they even got the positive pregnancy test, and it's totally fine, but they were also fit going into it, but, I just took a really conservative approach. And then after that, once I felt a little bit more secure in my pregnancy, because we had lost a pregnancy in November, and
I'm so sorry.
it's okay. It was tough, but I just, you just never know what causes that, right? So I just was like, I'd rather be like a little bit more conservative just because of that. And I think when something like that happens, you're just a little bit more cautious. And so that's kind of where my approach came from. I just was like, I want my body to feel safe that it can grow this baby. And so was basically my MO, for the first couple weeks. And then after that, I felt good pretty much running consistently. Pregnant running, I had this idea, like I was going to get the best base fitness pregnant running. I was like, I didn't run all last year. I'm going to I'm just going to like get pregnant and then I'm just going to build my base during my pregnancy. And I just thought, like maybe I won't get like super fast, but like I'm just going to build this like crazy aerobic base while I'm pregnant. And I mean, completely naive about how pregnancy affects every woman so differently. And that's, I think, the most important thing to know is just like, if you're seeing, some girl on Instagram and she's able to do, 3,000 miles in her first 6 months of pregnancy, that is amazing. And I'm so happy for her, but that is probably not the norm. And you don't have to feel bad if you're not doing that. It's such a different time for your body. So you just have to work with your body. That's the only body you have. And I just chose to be grateful for anything I was able to do and not to compare it to people doing a lot more, a lot faster than me, also pregnant. Like they're amazing for doing that. That's not where my body was letting me go. So I took what I could get and I've been taking still what I can get from my body. And I think that's just that attitude made pregnant running a really joyful experience and not depressing,
Right.
And I just, I got the Fit Splint, the like, it's like a black band. I'm sure, Mo, did you have one of those ever?
No, I started technically getting into running after my second child.
Okay.
So I am all ears about this band.
Yeah. Well, once your belly starts getting bigger, it doesn't feel as comfortable for it to be bouncing up and down.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So I got the belt and it probably around like, 20 something weeks. And it definitely helped to make it, not as uncomfortable, but you're still pregnant. You're still pregnant running, but it just makes it not as bad. And like since then I've been able to just go out there, run with a low heart rate, just enjoy my run. Obviously, towards the end, it gets a little bit tougher because, the relaxin hormone is making everything move and your pelvic floor is moving a little bit. So, I just take it a day at a time and I don't beat myself up if that day I'm just like way too wiped to get a run in, or if my pace was really slow, because it doesn't matter. I'm getting out there and I'm moving. So, I think that that's seriously just the best attitude to have while you're pregnant. Otherwise, you're just going to be really beating yourself up the whole time. And it's totally unproductive because every woman's pregnancy is, different from the last one. And then it's different from woman to woman. So you just have to appreciate whatever you're able to do for that pregnancy.
And I love so much how you are celebrating that, as women, we can give birth and how miraculous that is. And I appreciate so much that you specifically talked about how important it is to not compare, because I do know when talking with, friends or whether it be listeners, well, friends are listeners. I hope you all know that. I do know that has come up where they are like, hey, I just saw this influencer. She just ran a marathon and she was, so-and-so weeks pregnant. And it's just, it's something that, like you said, like, I'm so happy for them. That's amazing. That's incredible. But I don't ever want to put that pressure on myself, because
Totally.
I feel like then it would just almost make me not ever, putting a damper on my pregnancy, but, like being like, oh, like, why can't I do that?
Yeah. I didn't want to feel resentful, and
yes, that's it. That's the word.
And I think that, I've had just a really happy time running while pregnant. Like after run, I'll run and find Tyler and be like, babe, my heart rate was 138 and it's 90 degrees outside. So I'd be like excited. Like I'm just finding like the small wins, and they're very small wins. The pace was very slow, but it's 90 degrees. It's full sun. I'm very pregnant and I'm keeping my heart rate low. So I get really excited about the little things because to me, they signal good things ahead. They're showing that my body has recovered from all this health nightmare I was going through for the last 2 years. And that even super pregnant and, a little bit heavier and in summer heat, I'm able to still keep a low heart rate and I'm enjoying the runs,
Yeah.
So I think that just finding a way to make your season, for me right now, it's pregnancy, but for other people, it's going to be coming back from injury and their comeback journey, or like coming back from an illness. And you can make whatever part of your journey as joyful or as miserable as you choose, So I could be making this pretty rough on myself if I wanted to, by just being resentful for how little I'm able to run. I'm only running a couple miles, or how slow I'm running, or just how much more other people are able to do. And we can do that no matter if we're pregnant or coming back, So I think just finding all of your wins that you can is a really positive way to just keep moving forward, because you can't get to the next stage if you're just so frustrated with yourself in this one. So I've just been thrilled with how I've been able to still keep doing something, even with this big belly.
Again, just incredible. I know you're a running extraordinaire, but I also think you're a therapist in hiding or in secret.
So
because, no, it's true. And I love that too, because, for those of us who have been pregnant or are pregnant, that's so important mentally to find that balance, because going into postpartum, it's also going to be a whole different experience,
I'm
and
sure.
so oh man, I'm so excited for you guys. This baby is so blessed.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we're thrilled. And I just feel like being able to come to peace with my own running over the last 2 years, which was like either non-existent or, very tough, has helped me to be just like totally at peace with what's going on, with my body right now, pregnant running, and to also just be finding like gratefulness and joy in what I'm able to do. And I don't see that changing with postpartum running. I know that there's going to be, it's going to be an uphill climb, just, rebuilding my body, the pelvic floor and everything like that. So there'll be a lot of work ahead, and a lot of work ahead for my fitness, because I'm, not in the same fitness I was when I got sick back in 2018. But I also just like so enjoy finding the small wins that I can see just so many bigger small wins along the way. If I'm able to find joy in just a low heart rate at a slow pace, like how much more when I get to do workouts again and things like that. So I just think that just having the right attitude makes the process a lot easier, and it actually makes your progress come like through a lot faster.
Absolutely. And something really quick I wanted to ask you specifically was, so for any listeners who are wondering, what would be like a low heart rate, or what would be, I know you mentioned how, the first few weeks, were you just talking about like first trimester, kind of, feeling it out? And then, again, I know everyone is different, but I'm just wondering if you could share your experience on those things.
Sure. So, for me, for the first, I would probably say like maybe 4 weeks of my pregnancy, I just focused on really conservative, easy run efforts. And just that way, I was being extra cautious. And I don't think that that's probably, what everybody needs to do. That's just what I felt comfortable doing. Right. And as far as heart rate, everyone's different, but it should be what's in your like easy aerobic zone for your easy runs. And, just for me, I used to, before I got sick, I was doing all my easy runs in the 130s, maybe low 140s. And I was racing in the high 140s. And then after I got sick, I was going out for, 3 miles easy pace, and I was getting up to 160, 170. So that's a huge red flag, that's saying something's off with my body. And that's why I finally took that time off, was because this is a red flag. There's something off. I had other immune symptoms as well. But I think that what's also important to know is that when you're getting, like if you're starting running or you're getting back into fitness, your heart rate will initially be higher at first because you're just out of shape, and so it definitely does have to get into shape, but you can be doing it in a way where you're like coaxing it into shape and not like accidentally like overworking yourself into shape. So I do just try to keep my heart rate on the lower side because it's a little bit easier on your body, and that's the intention of those easy runs. But yeah, everybody's a little bit different, and where you are on the journey can point to what heart rate is going to be ideal for you then.
So I obviously can't speak from experience here. But this is all really interesting to hear about. And I hope that the women listening and Mo listening, of course, will now have a certain approach that makes them feel comfortable as they go into running through their pregnancy. But do you think that there's at least let's just say you have a marathon goal for a certain period, let's say 6 months after a baby's born or 9 months or whatever. Do you think then if your body allows, it makes sense to try to maintain a certain running base while you're pregnant? So maybe it's, okay, I'm going to maintain 15 or 20 miles a week while I'm pregnant. Like, is there maybe a go-to number they could stick to? I know it's different for everybody, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that you can have great goals going into pregnancy, but pregnancy just really hits everyone so differently. It's been wild. I have some friends that have been sick their entire pregnancy. God bless them. I just don't even know how they've survived. And, the first trimester, you're just pretty exhausted all the time. Second one, you feel, pretty good for most of it. But I still have a lot of friends who were sick that whole time too. And I know a lot of really great runners who just had way too much pain, in their pregnancy, and they were like forced to stop, in the teens or 20 weeks pregnant. So it's just such a hard thing to point to because everybody's body is so different, and I know amazing runners who just were having to call running pretty early into their pregnancy. So I just think that it's like a play it by ear type of thing. And once you get into it, you just see how your body's feeling with it. And that ultimately the most important thing is just for you to stay healthy. And if that means that you need to be walking to do that, to get some movement in, then do that. But it's such a short time being pregnant that it's okay if it's not like this time where you're like keeping super fitness throughout. And if running doesn't feel great, then cycling, like on a trainer or swimming or the elliptical would all be good alternatives because you're not getting that bouncing with the belly. And that's what starts to feel uncomfortable towards the end. But yeah, towards the end of the pregnancy, if you're running, sometimes it can feel a little masochistic. So you just have to kind of balance what's going on and know that there might be a point where you do have to cut it and be okay with it because fitness comes back really fast, even taking off a couple months. If I decided to have stopped running, a month or two ago, I've taken a lot of time off in my last, 9 years of running that I know that as soon as I'm in the place where I can be running again normally, that it'll all click back really quickly. And being able to loosen your grip on something is, a sign that you feel secure in that thing. It's insecurity that a lot of times keeps us so like just trying to push through and make something work when it's not a good fit right now.
Way to tie it all back together full circle.
I know, seriously.
I think that was such good advice. And we really appreciate you being so vulnerable talking about that. I know a lot of that's probably private or things that you don't care to talk about in public. So we really appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, thanks, guys.
How can our listeners find you on what do you prefer, Instagram, or do you have another platform that you prefer?
Yeah, I definitely prefer Instagram. I basically microblog there every night. I had a blog before and I spent a lot of time on it, but it ultimately was not my platform of choice. And so I switched over to Instagram. So my Instagram is Track Club Babe. And Tyler and I have so Tyler, my husband, is a coach and he created a training plan that we do, and it's called Fast Fall. And so we have a really big community with that, and they're on Facebook too. So that's something that's been a huge joy of ours over the last year.
So if someone's interested in all of this, do they just send you a DM, or what's the best way for them to join?
Of course,
for example, the Fast Fall.
Yeah. So, my DMs are always open. I literally respond to every DM I get. And if they had any questions about Fast Fall or just running in general, I try to be just a resource for anyone's, just wanting feedback on their running or the process. But yeah, if they're interested in Fast Fall and have any questions, they can DM me anytime. And it's really cool because we have this big Facebook group and everyone is so supportive and encouraging there. And it's really intended for every level of runner. My husband and I have both been at like basically every stage of running. I started at 6:08 in the marathon, and he started at 4:10 in the marathon. So we really, and now, he's running Olympic trials marathon. So we've really been at every single stage. We've hit all the train stops. So we understand, all stages of and levels of running, and we try to make a community that feels really inclusive. So that way people, don't get intimidated by speed or intimidated by, quote unquote, faster runners. And that they know that they can improve just the same. Our improvement is not anything special to us. It's just, hard work that's concentrated in the right direction.
Absolutely. Well, and that's what Mo and I have noticed in our improvement too.
Oh, that's awesome.
As we've gone through your coaching, it's been, like you said, it's like the kind of work smarter, not harder kind of thing. I mean, it's hard work, but as young parents, we don't have time to put in 80-mile weeks. And
totally.
So to be able to run 30 to 40 with some very concentrated speed workouts and things that we would have honestly no idea how to do without being pointed in the right direction, it's had drastic results. And everybody who's listening to this has probably heard the episode where we talked about our marathons and the drastic improvement that I made. And then, of course, Mo running her first killer time that she had. So anyways, I say all that to say that you guys just launched a new marathon plan. Is that something that you are ready to kind of release to the world? And is that something people can reach out to you about?
Yeah, so we just launched it this Tuesday, I think. I wanted to give birth to that before this baby, so that was the goal. I was like, we need to get this out, babe. Nice. It's going to get a little bit too crazy once the baby's here. So we just released that, which is really awesome. I mean, it just feels very full circle for us because the marathon is honestly what drew both Tyler and I into running in general. We came for the marathon. We came for the accomplishment of the marathon. And obviously our first marathons weren't these jaw droppers. He wasn't Olympic trials qualifying in his first one, but we both just so enjoyed just the idea of getting to run a marathon. And the marathon, the fast marathon plan wasn't our first plan. Fast Fall was, and Fast Fall was more about just how I improved so much after years of regression. But it's really cool to be able to now put out a marathon plan because this is like, we love marathons and we wanted to put out something that would feel, obviously the marathon training is really intense, but we wanted to put out something that we felt would be like protective of people. That's such a weird word to use, but I think that a lot of marathon training can be too much for people with their already busy lives. And then they end up having, less than stellar performances because they might be overworked going into it and overcooked. And we wanted to find a way to balance really quality workouts, which I'm sure that what these look like from working with Tyler, with not having to do high miles and not having to work yourself to death and not having to do 5 million things, but like, let's just get you doing what we think that you need to do to have a strong, successful race. And so it's exciting that we were finally able to put out our plan on that and our take on it because, the marathon is like our first love and how we even became runners. So we had a lot of requests for a marathon training plan. So I'm just grateful that we finally got it out into the world.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So it's at Track Club Babe, right? That's the way to reach you. And then Tyler is at Tunderface, TUNDER. There we go.
And if you haven't seen both of their Instagram pages, just prepare to be impressed and also inspired in every way. I mean, seriously, I feel like everything you post, I'm like, yes, I can do anything.
You're so
I'm
sweet.
limitless.
You're so sweet. I've learned so much from my husband about training and form, and we've learned so much together about the running process and the journey and how to help make it better for everyone too, like in their own journey. And so it's exciting to get to just share things that I think can help other people.
There's got to be nothing more gratifying than that, than helping people change their lives. And so
absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome.
Thank you for having me on. This is wonderful. And Tyler speaks so highly of both of you. So this is such a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And good luck with all of the baby stuff, the preparations, the shopping, and the things, the last minute stuff you need to get done.
We can't wait to celebrate you guys. I'm so excited for your baby.
You're so sweet. We are thrilled. We'll be hopefully sharing some of the journey on Instagram. I mean, we don't know what we're doing, so.
Really quick. And I don't know if this is personal, be like, Mo, bring it back. Do you know if you're having a boy or girl?
No, we do not. So we will find out in 1 month. It was just like I really wanted to wait to find out until birth. And so Tyler was fine with that. And so we have a name that we have a name for the baby, but it's the same name if it's a boy or a girl, which is great because we've been able to call the baby its name this whole pregnancy instead of like, here, baby, here, little baby.
Yes, yes.
That's amazing.
That's absolutely amazing. Seriously, all the goals. Harrison, did you hear that?
Yeah,
Tyler's cool with weight.
Yeah, he's a better man than I am because I said absolutely not. I have to know what it is.
Oh my gosh. I know. Our families are like, can you just find out so we know what to buy? And I'm like, no, we're not finding out. It'll be fine. And I just feel like it'll be the best surprise. Like you just build up so much anticipation for 9 months. And then I have to do like a really hard race, essentially, and so then this is like my reward at the end of it is getting to like meet my baby and find out if it's a boy or a girl. And the baby already has its name. So it's been hearing it for 8.5 months now. So it should already be ready to come out of the womb with listening to me and knowing its name.
Yes, I love it. Well, hey, you've already won the gold. Yeah. So we're so excited for you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We're thrilled.
Awesome. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Follow us on Instagram at Crummy Marathoners. We'd love to hear your feedback and take any questions you might have. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes come out. And please leave us a 5-star review so more people can join this running journey with us.
Our theme song is Change the World by Breck. You can find his music on Spotify searching BREKK.